Greetings! I am Brad Hessel, chair of the Wake County Libertarian Party, and as such, one of my jobs is to keep our party focused on municipal and county issues. Usually, staying in our lane is not too hard because even though national and state issues get most of the attention, decisions that our county and municipal leaders make about zoning, small business regulation, education, transportation, recreation, and so on have considerably more impact on our everyday lives. So there are plenty of pertinent policy questions for us to focus on. But occasionally, some carelessly driven state or national issue vehicle strays into our lane, and then we have to pay attention to it as we desperately strive to avoid colliding. And that is what's happening now with immigration. So, generally speaking, the libertarian take on immigration is that folks have the right to live wherever they want to, so long as they can afford the rent. We are not real fond of the idea of government telling folks how to live their lives, what to spend their money on, or where to be. So, when it comes to breaking up families, to arresting folks at their green card appointments, to marching into Home Depot or a construction site and snatching up people doing productive work, to deporting people who have no meaningful criminal records without due process, some of them to countries that the government immediately throws them into prison, well, most libertarians are not down with any of that. But actually, I don't want to focus on whether or not what's happening is wrong from a moral or philosophical standpoint. I feel we've all heard more than plenty about that. What I'd like to focus on is why what we're doing here is plain crazy stupid. In just a few days, we will experience the 84th anniversary of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor that pulled the USA into World War II. Japan had a mutual defense pact with Italy and Germany, but did not coordinate their December 7th attacks, which included several other sites beside Hawaii, with their allies. So, on December 8th, the USA declared war on Japan, but not on Germany or Italy, who had not attacked us. Now, because Japan had attacked the USA and not vice versa, Germany was under no obligation to support their ally, but on December 11th, in a speech to the Reichstag, Adolf Hitler announced a declaration of war against the USA. He accused us of favoring his enemy, Britain, a fair analysis, but probably a better reason to avoid war with us than to seek it, and airily dismissed any risk to Germany from a war with us because, he said, we are a mongrel nation and consequently militarily weak with no capacity to mount a sustained war effort. We all know how that decision turned out. So, Hitler wasn't wrong to characterize the USA as a mongrel nation. But as famously a dog person himself, he should have known better than to characterize that as a weakness. Mongrels are generally healthier than purebred dogs, both mentally and physically, and live longer. Purebreds are often highly intelligent, but having been bred for a particular purpose, tend to apply that intelligence narrowly. For example, border collies who excel at herding, but tend to engage in herding behavior compulsively, even when it's not called for. Mongrels are better at adaptive intelligence, learning new things and solving a wide variety of problems more quickly. Yes, the USA is a mixed breed. This is a feature, not a bug, and a unique one. Other great imperial powers throughout history grew through conquest, and while ruling over foreign subjects, rarely incorporated those subjects culturally or even tried to. The USA, in contrast, grew organically, not just through procreation, but by culturally enticing hordes of folks from other nations to emigrate. In this fashion, most of the population consists of folks, or the descendants of folks, who made a conscious decision to uproot themselves from everything they knew and roll the dice on moving to a completely new place where, in many cases, even the language was unknown, all in pursuit of a culture of greater liberty and economic opportunity. Of course, this is not true of the several 100,000 Africans forced into slave ships bound for America, but the horrors of the Middle Passage, resulting in the murder of 10 to 15% of the passengers, did ensure that the survivors tended to be stronger and smarter than average. So, sure, a nation of immigrants is ethnically and racially diverse, a mongrel nation, if you will. But what not only binds us together, but makes us attractive to folks living elsewhere is the potential opportunity combined with the freedom to pursue it that we offer. For 3 centuries, this potent culture has afforded us more than our fair share of the best and brightest humans on the planet. And the success of one generation is a model for the next. No other nation in history has ever created such a virtuous circle effect that ensures a constantly high proportion of the populace comprises folks who consciously chose to be there, made sacrifices to get there, and is highly motivated to succeed there. And now we're throwing it all away. Our irrational xenophobia is bad for us and will be worse for our kids who will have to live in a world where the USA is not idealized, our cultural and financial currencies are not highly valued, and our capacity for innovation and scientific advancement significantly reduced. Crazy stupid. But as that great American Henry Wadsworth Longfellow once wrote, "Those whom the gods would destroy, they first make mad."